Where the legends play, Willie 1550 and 98.7. Hello there, I'm Kenny Graves, and on the phone with me right now, she is an award-winning singer, songwriter, and the pride of Harvard, Massachusetts. She is Ashley Jordan. Miss Ashley, how are you?
I'm good, Kenny. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, the pleasure's mine, ma'am. Going to have a great conversation, but first off, please tell me about Ranger and Lucy Joe.
Oh, Kenny, I'm so glad that you started off with that. I like to call them my little fur children. They are absolutely wonderful. I do talk about them quite a bit on my social media. Ranger, I rescued a couple years back from a local rescue around here. And Lucy I've had since she was just a little baby. She's a little beagle who likes to sing, believe it or not.
Yep.
And they are just the sweetest pups together. Ranger kind of acts as the shepherd guardian over my little beagle, Lucy. So it's a very interesting group of pups that I have here.
Well, great. Well, I saw you were a very busy lady at CRS last month. So how was your trip?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was awesome. There was just so much going on. It really is. Nashville's such a happening place all the time, but it was very nice to finally get to be a part of CRS and meet so many awesome people and some good friends of mine that have moved out to Nashville. I was able to kind of connect and do some songwriting and recording and performance, and it was really, really great to get to be a part of it. I don't think there was a day where I had downtime at all. It was like go. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and you have to do all the photo dumps after you're done, right?
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Well, let's get into your career, Miss Ashley. Now, your late grandfather helped to foster your early love for music. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. He's a huge influence of mine.
All right. And who were your early music influences?
Oh, so I grew up with so much music in my home, thanks to my very music-loving parents, I guess you could say. But I loved listening to some of the stuff I think my dad liked to listen to because he'd always have music playing somewhere in the house. But I really was fond of a lot of kind of folk, folk country sort of artists. Jewel, anywhere from like Jewel to Alison Krauss, to, the country legends. Garth Brooks was always one that I heard playing. There's many more, but I love I grew up listening to a lot of folk music, Josh Ritter, Ellis Paul. There's so many singer-songwriters that I could probably go on and list forever, but those were some of my, I guess you could say, early favorites. James Taylor, that music for me is super nostalgic anytime I hear it. Dolly Parton, such a musical home, so it was such a blessing to have that. My mom played piano, and there's just always music in the home, which was really, really nice.
And it gave you a lot of different wells to draw from.
Yes, oh, definitely.
All right. Well, Ashley, this was so interesting. Tell me about playing in Harvard Square in Cambridge at the ripe old age of 13.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it was really fun. I think it was definitely a learning experience. I had kind of gotten the idea because I had been, I had kind of worked with a friend of mine on a little bit of guitar, and then I kind of took it from there and taught myself. And all of the songs I had written, I guess you could more so call them poems that I'd written in all my diaries. I finally realized, I'm like, wait a second, these are songs without melodies, And once I learned an instrument, it kind of just opened up this whole world of possibility of like, whoa, like these are songs. I gotta, use this instrument and turn it into what they were supposed to be all along. And I met a singer-songwriter when I was doing one of my shows one night. He was a featured artist, and his name is John Gerard, and a very rough-looking guy, kind of a intimidating exterior, tattoos, shaved head, but he gets up there and he starts singing songs like almost in the style, I would say, of like kind of Damien Rice, just very like just beautiful music, beautiful guitar playing. And I was like, whoa, like if I was ever going to be an artist, I want to be like that guy, right? So I go up to him and I was like, hey, and he's like, hey, and I'm like, would you teach me how to play and write like you? And he was like, sure. My parents were a little mortified. They're like, that's going to be your teacher? And I'm like, yes, it is. And it turns out he was a street performer in pretty much the same area. He used to play in the subways. He was homeless for a while. He really made his whole career by starting off that way, and he really inspired me. We played a lot of shows. He helped me do some of my first recordings and songs, and so he really helped me cultivate doing that in Harvard Square and really becoming a better performer and having more confidence in the songwriting and performance aspect of things. So that was kind of a really great start to things.
All right. Good story, too. Thank you. Now, you had your first album out by the time you were 16. So how was your first experience in the studio?
It was really great. I think that it was such a special experience because, like I said, I'd had all these songs, and I was like, well, what do I do with them? What do I do now? And having who I was just the artist I was just talking about, John Gerard, he helped me. He had a producer that he had recommended, Steve Rapson, who is local out in New England, and he was like, you should work with him. And it was such an amazing experience. Like, that was my first time really getting in the studio and being like, these are my original songs, and what do we want to do with them? And even though it was really acoustic, I still felt like it was such a great launching point for just my creativity, Well,
I'll tell you what did you learn after that? What did you figure out you didn't know? Because you're about to release, your fifth album?
Yes. Yep. Fifth one.
How has the process changed for you?
I think it's changed a little bit over the years. I think that sometimes the process seemed a lot more like, it's just, I'm going to start with the lyrics. I'm going to write the lyrics, and then I'm going to do the melody. And I think now it's kind of all over the place, which I think is a lot more authentic to who I am as an artist. It's a little bit scattered of a process, but I find that it makes it more real when it's not contrived in any way. I think sometimes I'll have a melody or I'll have a hook, and then I'll kind of put a melody to it, or you know what I mean, like bits and pieces of songs, bits and pieces of words that end up turning into a melody that I find kind of later on. And I think the process is never the same, which I think sometimes is really nice because you just end up with a different kind of song every time. I never try to steer it in any direction. I just kind of go with what comes and just kind of take it from there. So sometimes it's 2 a.m. and sometimes it's 10 p.m. I don't think I've ever written a song like in the morning. God help me. I definitely haven't done that yet, but it's an interesting process. More of a night owl writer, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Well, now, Ashley, you've shared the stage with some legendary names like the Beach Boys, Trace Adkins, and the Charlie Daniels Band. So any fun stories to share?
Oh my gosh, yes, so many. I think the one that stuck out to me the most was when I was opening for Trace Adkins, and everyone always says, like, what a great guy he is, and just how down to earth he is, and that couldn't be more true. He is just the kindest person, and most times, it just in my experience, I've opened for a lot of different acts, and most times you just kind of do it, and sometimes you don't even meet the artists. They probably didn't even hear you, that kind of deal. But with Trace, I thought it was really interesting that when I was backstage, kind of in my room, he made a point of literally seeking me out, like, who's the opener? I want to meet her. And I was like, what do you want to meet me for? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm just like fangirling completely. I'm like such a huge fan, so I'm trying to play it cool, And I could see him, like, when I stepped on the stage. This is at Indian Ranch in Webster, Mass. And I could see him literally peering around the corner. And he was like, well, I'm going to be listening. And I was like, what are you going to be listening for? You got stuff to do. You know what I mean? It was just very cool. And after I'd finished my set, I'd actually played one of his songs, Timing is Everything, kind of did my own twist on it. And he said, I walked up to him, and I'll never forget this. He shook my hand. He's literally like 6'10" or something.
Oh,
I don't know how tall he is. I'm like 5'2", right? So I'm like not even up to his like belly button. So I'm like staring up at him, and he's like, "Well, little lady, what a voice, what a voice, what a big voice, amazing." And I was like, "You are kidding me right now. You were listening?" So I'll never forget that. It's just like, what a sweetheart. He actually took the time to listen. Just such a cool experience, you know, because you just never think that's going to kind of happen. So that really just made my day, right? Because I'm such a huge fan of his incredible songwriting, and he's done so many amazing things for veterans. Like, he's just an all around good dude, you know. So that was something I'll never forget.
Plus, he has $1 million voice, and for a compliment, compliment from him is validation of your hard work. That's got to be great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was very cool. He's a very kind person.
All right, Ashley, where were you at the first time you heard your music on the radio?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I think probably the first time was many, many years ago. I'm not even sure when, now that I'm thinking about it, but I had done a contest to be the opener for what's called, I think it's called Mix Fest or something that took place at the Boston Hat Shell. And they had selected me to open the show, so they were playing my songs from my recent album, Nothing in Doubt, at the time. And they were talking about me on the radio, and I think we were driving in the car. I forget what I was heading to with my mom, and we didn't even know this was happening, but we turned the radio on, and we just hear my name, and I was like, "Did you hear that?" My mom's like, "Did they just say your name?" And I remember that was like such a crazy experience, and they played two or three of my songs at the time, and that was like just such a crazy thing. So I didn't even know that it was going to happen. So it was just like, whoa. So I'll never forget that. That was a very cool experience.
And to have your mom there to share it with you.
Oh, totally. My parents are very, very involved. So that was like really cool to have her experience that with me.
All right. Now, going back to the songwriting, you touched on it earlier. With songwriting, do you like to schedule times to write, or do you prefer to wait for inspiration? I know you're a nighttime writer.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that I'm okay with scheduling writing sessions because I have been doing more collaborative type of things where you really do have to schedule it, you know, with other people. And I love that because that creativity just kind of flows between people, and that's something that's a little bit more new to me because I am used to just writing by myself. For myself, I try not to schedule it because I don't know if my my brain could handle the idea of scheduling it just by myself. But I think you're right. I think when inspiration hits, it tends to be after a long day or when I just have a space and I'm alone and I'm able to kind of collect my thoughts and just kind of freeform write, you know. I think that would usually be the process.
All right. Well, the newest single is called Am I Gonna Survive? So tell us about that track.
Yeah, so I was very excited to release this tune, and it was one that I was really proud of after recording it with my producer in Nashville. And I said to him, I was like, I wanted to kind of have this like churchy feel about it, because when I say in the song, you know, and I ask my papa, I'm kind of playing on that a little bit and saying like, actually, literally my dad, but then also kind of talking about God in a way. So I was trying to kind of do a play on words there. And when you're just in a really dark place, like being able to turn to someone and just like, am I going to be okay? Like, is this going to work out? Like, should I keep going here? And I've been through a lot of dark times in my life. I've been in the trenches more times than I can count. And I think, like, I always think to myself, like, thank God that I have just incredible people that I'm surrounded by who are always there to pick me up when I fall, or if I need advice, I can go to my parents, go to my family, you know, talk to God and try to reassure myself, like, you know, am I going to make it through this? I was bullied a lot as a kid. As cliche as that sounds, I went through some very, very dark times, and I would always go to my dad. So that's why I put that in there. You know, like, am I gonna survive this? Like, what's gonna happen? You know? And I think in a lot of ways, as my life has gone on, it's kind of taken a different shape. in terms of loss, like when you lose someone, like how you just feel like you just want to run away, you just want to give up, you just want to quit. And then every time your brain is kind of saying, but wait, there's still hope, like hang in there, you can do it, you know? So it's definitely an emotional one for sure. But I was just really proud of being able to get to finally put this one out there for everyone to hear.
Well, it's haunting. It's a haunting song. It's a wonderful song, and your voice is spot on. You hit the falsettos and all that. It just,
thank you.
It pulls you in. So my compliments on that. Where can people download that one?
Yep, so they can go pretty much to any streaming site, Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music. It's pretty much up everywhere, but if they want to check it out, they can go to my official website, AshleyJordanMusic.com, and all the links are there for streaming and for download.
All right. We touched on it earlier, but the next album will be, is it your fifth?
Yes, okay. Yep, that'll be my fifth.
Any idea when that's going to be dropping?
I have a couple ideas. Right now, I'm just kind of freeform. I'm kind of just releasing some singles and some tunes that are really inspiring me right now, and then kind of play it by ear with the album. So I'll definitely be making more announcements about that via social media for anyone who wants to keep up with it, but definitely this year.
All right. Now let's talk about your other passion right now. Tell me about your nonprofit organization, Forever Love. Of
course. Yeah, it's very, very, very close to my heart. I'm such a big dog lover. I always say, like, if I could have a big piece of land, I would literally be adopting every dog that I could find. And maybe someday that'll happen. We'll see. But right now with the schedule, that's not quite possible. So for right now, it's just Lucy, Joe, and Ranger. But so what ended up happening is this has been a dream of mine for the longest time. But after adopting my second dog, Ranger, he's the cutest little thing. He's like a German Shepherd mix. And we had gotten him from a rescue who had rescued him from Puerto Rico. And he had the saddest story, but just that he was left abandoned and chained literally to a toilet in an abandoned gas station bathroom with his brother. And they had saved him from there. And it was the saddest thing because his ear is kind of it's kind of crooked, and I think it was broken probably from something that happened to him. And the shelter said, oh, well, you know, no one wants to adopt him because he doesn't have the classic German Shepherd ear. Like, it's kind of crooked, it's kind of broken. So the couple before you, they passed him up. And I said, I was like, well, you know what? Then that's the dog I want. The one that's a little bit broken. I feel like I can relate to that in so many different ways. And he's just the best dog you could ever meet. So anyways, from that point on, this shelter called When the Going Gets Rough, they are out of Biddeford, Maine, and they are a family-run organization. And literally the shelter is like out of their home, out of their own property. And I said to them, I was like, this must be really hard to run this. And they're like, yeah, we work like 4 jobs. It's like a whole family. And then on top of it, they have like 35 dogs like living on their property in their house. And I'm just like, man, like this must be really hard. And they said, yeah, well, you know, the state doesn't fund us. And I was like, you're kidding. So this is kind of how this all started, is I was like, I want to help the shelters that are like this, grassroots run, that like family run started this, and are just helping to save all these innocent dogs who are looking for their forever homes, you know, like kind of the abandoned dogs that just really, really need our help, right? And so that's how Forever Love was born. So we basically collect supplies and money and funds to deliver to shelters within the state and out of state. We've done a bunch of them at this point. I started it probably back in like early 2018 after I gotten Ranger. And from there, we literally fill up truckloads of supplies, you name it, blankets, towels, vet care, like medications, toys, you know, food, all of that good stuff, to try to help support these shelters that just aren't getting the funding and aren't getting the supplies that they need. It's kind of a revolving door situation. You know, a dog gets adopted, 5 more dogs come in. So these shelters end up kind of drowning with, you know, all of these dogs that they can't say no to, that they want to help, but they're struggling financially, working all these jobs, trying to support these beautiful animals that are just consistently coming in. So that's what Forever Love was kind of born from, was meeting all of these local shelters and just saying, okay, like, what can we do to help you guys? So over the last couple of years, we've been making trips with supplies to get to these amazing shelters, and then helping them adopt out their dogs. So social media, events, transports, things like that, just to try to support in any way that we can. And I'm such a big just supporter of people who are doing this. And if I could do it myself, I would. But with my schedule, it's so tough. So this, for right now, this has been such a great organization just to support these dogs with all the things that they need, just while I can, you know.
Well, my hat's off to you and that good work. The website for you animal lovers out there is Forever Love. That's FUREVERLUV-official.com. You can find out more there. Okay, got to ask this, Ashley. What's a venue or event that is on your bucket list to play?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I'm sure there's a bunch, but I would say the number one would probably be the Grand Ole Opry.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the number one. I know that there's definitely more, but I mean probably for any country lover and country artist, like that's getting to stand in that circle would just be an honor. So hopefully someday, fingers crossed.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on I might have missed?
Oh my gosh. Well, you asked so many great questions, Kenny. I can't think of anything right now, but I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me about everything. Like, I'm so grateful.
Oh, pleasure was mine. It was a great conversation. And tell folks where to keep up with you and your career.
Absolutely. If people want to check out the latest updates, the songs that are coming out, the tour schedule, it's my website, www.ashleijordanmusic.com, JORDAN, and then all my social media, Instagram, Ashley J Music. I'm on TikTok now, believe it or not, at Ashley Jordan Official, Facebook, Ashley Jordan, and I'd love to see everyone there.
That's right, and you can see Lucy Joe, the singing beagle, on there.
Yes, exactly.
But I sure do. I wish you great success. I think 2023 is going to be a big year for you, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Kenny. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yes, ma'am. For the awesome Ashley Jordan, I'm Kenny Graves on Willie 1550 and 98.7.